Okay, so now I'm recording to the cloud. Woohoo! Okay, so we talked about what the include means, and the pound include is a command to another program called the preprocessor, which is the first step in the compiling process. So we'll use using namespace std. And that will allow us to use cout without having to type std : cout or std : cin. Okay. Then int main. And we know that it's going to end with a return of 0. And then in the starter code, there is, we're going to use the get an input from the user. And if the input is a 0, we'll use the clock, the time of day, to initialize the random number generator. But if it's not 0, we'll use the value that the user input. So in order to use the clock, I need to include something called ctime. And I'll declare an integer variable to accept the seed. And the seed does not have to be initialized, because that's the first thing that we're going to do is initialize it. So I'm going to print out a prompt. Okay, now notice I didn't put an endl here, and that's a personal preference. I'm printing out a prompt. I'd like the user's input to appear on the same line. Now, cin gets input from the keyboard, and I want to send that to seed. Okay, now the compiler will sense that seed is an integer. So when you type something in, it's going to try and convert it from letters into an integer. Now, C++ has a really hard time if it's expecting an integer and you type in letters, it'll just lose its canaries. So don't do that. Later in your career, we'll figure out how to make the code more robust. But for now, if you're supposed to enter a number, just enter a number. Okay, so if the seed is non-zero, and that's a bit of a shortcut. If you remember, the Boolean value of an integer that is non-zero is true. So I could have said, if the seed is not equal to 0, that's the same thing. So if the seed is not 0, use it to initialize the random number generator. That's done with a function called srand. Okay. Otherwise, use the time of day to initialize the random number generator. And that would be like this. And the rest of this may not make sense, but it doesn't have to right now. So just follow along. Notice the little tooltip over here says srand unsigned int. And I know that the time of day function does not return an unsigned int, so I'm going to convert it these things, what I'm saying right now may not make a lot of sense to you, but that's okay. It'll make sense later in the term. This is for right now, just do as I do and trust me.
Okay.
Okay, so there's the call to the get the time of day. And then here's something else that you're not going to understand, but don't worry about it. Okay. So let's write some comments. If the seed is non-zero, then use it directly to initialize the random number generator. Okay. If the seed is 0, then use the clock time of day to initialize the random number generator. So that's the starter code, is it not? Could you check for me?
Yes, it all seems the same.
Okay, good. And notice I added some comments which will help me understand my code if I come back to it at another time. Okay. So let's we wrote a little, let's test a little. So I'm about to write some code which ultimately I'm going to delete. Just after I test it, I find that it works, then I'm going to delete it. So I'm going to print out 10 random numbers. For int counter equals 0, counter less than 10, counter plus plus. We talked about that, all of this today, yesterday, right? Do you have any questions about what I just wrote?
No.
Okay, so this loop here, wait a minute, I'm about to cough, hold on. Okay, so this loop here is just for testing, and it's going to print out 10 random numbers. Well, let's try it. Okay, it's building, and it has built, and now it's going to run. Here's the prompt. And the test I'm going to do is I'll enter a number other than 0, and I'll make note of the values. So it started with 71 and it ended with 1899. Let me run the program again, and I'll use the same seed, and it should 71 and 1899. Good. And now I'll run one more time with the seed being 0, and I should get different numbers. Good. Okay, I'm happy with my results. So I have written a little, I tested a little, and I can remove this because the test is complete. So now we can start doing the game itself. Now the game is to select a secret number, which is between 1 and 100 inclusive. So I need a variable to store it, and I'll give it a nice name like secret number, so I know what it means. And I'm going to assign to it a value from the random numbers, but random numbers are from 0 to a really big value. I need a way of constricting it in the range that I want. And that would be using the modulus operator with a value of 100. So mod 100 means that the whole entire range of random numbers will be constricted to a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 99. Okay, so if you were to do grade school division by 100, you know that you could have a remainder of 0, which means it was divisible by 100, all the way up to a remainder of 99, because if it was a remainder of 100, it would be divisible by 100, and that would be 0. Okay, so that's 0 to 99, but we want it in a range of 1 to 100. So actually, I don't need that. So I'm just going to add 1 to it. And now the random numbers will be in the range. Select a secret number, which is in the range of 1 to 100. Okay. So now we'll declare one more variable. And I give it a really nice name of user's choice. And that way, just by looking at it, I know that's what the user entered. And I'll initialize it to a value that can't possibly be the secret number. And I'll write a comment. Initialize the user's choice to a value that cannot possibly be the secret number. Minus, okay, so -1 is a suitable value since the smallest secret number is 1. Okay, so now I'm going to start dialing back the amount of code that I write, and instead I'll just write comments. And that way I won't be taking away the fun of doing the project. All right, so the idea next is while the user's choice is not the secret number, keep asking the user for a new choice, and then tell the user if they are too low or too high. We also want to keep track of the number of guesses that the user needed to win the game. So I'll declare that variable. And it'll start out at 0. Okay, so there's a while here. And it'll be for you to fill in, but I've kind of described while the user's choice is not the secret number. Okay, so that's what goes here. And then it says, ask the user for a new choice. So that kind of code I'll put in. Actually, I'll leave it for you to do. So prompt the user for their next guess using out, then collect the user's guess using CIN. Okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay. By the time you get here, we have, well, let's make it consistent. By the time we get here, we have collected the user's next guess. And for pretty, making it pretty, I'll poop. Because I'm actually on a Mac, what I was trying to do is go to the end of the line, but the Mac actually interpreted it as something else. So never mind. I'll just have to do it manually. So we've collected the user's next guess. So it is appropriate to increment the turn counter. Right? So doesn't it make sense that if the turn counter, if a turn represents a user's guess, so right after getting the user's guess value, we increment the turn counter. Okay. Next, we will compare the user's guess to the secret number. If the number is too low, print that it is, print that, okay, let's just say, tell the user to go higher. If the number is too high, tell the user to go lower. So that's going to be something like if else if okay, so how might this I prefer that being on the same line. So if the user's guess is too low, tell them to go higher. If the user's guess is too high, tell them to go lower. Now, what happens if the user gets it right? So it would not have printed anything here, and it would not have printed anything here. And instead, it would go right back up to this while. But, so let's make believe the user got it right. So it hasn't printed anything, but inside the while, it will be doing a test. Is the user's choice equal to the secret number? And if the user got it right, it would, well, we want to make sure, let me rephrase that. Is the user's choice not the secret number? If the user got it right, that means this while loop test would be false, and it'll then exit the loop. We get here only if the user has guessed the right secret number.
So that would be like breaking the loop.
Exactly. So we print a congratulatory message and tell them how many guesses it took. And that's what goes here.
Okay. So it goes
Okay.
return 0.
I'm sorry. I talked over you. I apologize. What'd you say?
Oh, no. So like the congratulatory message goes before the return 0.
Exactly. Okay, so there's an outline, and I've given you the outline in such a way that you still get the fun of filling in the blanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. When we hang up, I will email this file to you
Mhm.
so that you don't have to be busy yourself and just retyping what I typed.
Okay.
Okay, so if I do that, then let's put the finishing touch of your name. Let's tell you what, let's get practice using a multi-line comment. And we'll say higher, lower. Oh, I don't remember your last name.
Carranza.
That's
Yeah.
C-A-R-A.
There's 2 R's.
2-R-A-N-Z-A.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And you can go CSC 1810. Cool.
Thank you.
Boy, those doggies have a lot to say. Were you able to hear that?
Yeah.
Yep. If my camera is on, my middle dog Hector would be waving hello to you.
Oh.
Yeah, you know what? That's worth turning the camera on for. So let me go find this and here you go.
Oh, how cute. Oh.
Yeah, this is Hector. He's named for Hector Camacho, the famous Mexican boxer.
Wow. So
Hector
cute.
Camacho.
Is it just, do you have only one dog, or are they like?
I have 3. I have 3. So let's see if we can convince Fredo to come over here. Fredo, come here. Oh, she's chewing on my shoes. Come on, Fredo. Come on. Up.
Oh, how cute.
Fredo. So Fredo is a Spanish water dog. Hector
Oh.
is a Portuguese water dog.
Oh.
They are very, very, very different breeds. And she's really interested in my dinner.
Oh.
Okay.
They're so cute.
All right. Thank you. All right. Okie doke.
Thank you so much.
So you're quite welcome. I'm going to send you this by email.
Okay.
And also I'll let the rest of the class, once I get the video posted, I'll let the rest of the class know where to find it.
Okay.
Okie
Thank
doke.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.